Hello, this short video is meant to help you with the next part of step 4, local revision and editing. So once you feel like you have a handle on your global revision, once you have analyzed and evaluated your thesis and your support and your introduction and your conclusion and your organization, etc., and you feel like you've made them as strong and as effective as you possibly can, then it's time to turn your attention to revising your essay at the sentence and word level. So making your sentences and words stronger and more effective so your paper is better. The first thing that we can do at this stage of step 4 is to focus on the clarity of our writing. So it doesn't matter how strong our ideas are, how effective our support that we've gathered is, how sharp our analysis is, if our reader can't understand what we're trying to communicate, it won't matter. So it's a good idea that once you have analyzed and evaluated the other larger elements of your essay and you feel like they're where they should be, that you spend some time focusing on how clear you have written your thesis, your support, your introduction, and conclusion. And probably the best way to focus on clarity, how clear your writing is to read your paper out loud. Now, you could read your paper out loud to someone, it could be a friend or a relative, and that's always a good idea because you have an authentic audience in front of you and they can actually tell you whether your paper sounds clear or not. But you don't have to have somebody else. You could simply close the door, go into your room, close the door, and read your paper out loud to yourself. And what we're doing here is we are engaging a different part of our brain than we would if we were just reading to ourselves silently. You're engaging that part of your brain that's connected to your ear. And what this allows us to do is allows us to leverage our considerable verbal skills. So your skills at speaking and listening. So when you hear your paper out loud, you're going to process it a little differently than you did when you read it silently, and you'll be able to more clearly hear whether your writing is as clear as it could be. So the biggest thing that we can do here at this stage of the process is to just find a space and read our paper out loud, either to ourselves or to somebody else, just to hear how clear our writing is and to find places where, again, it just didn't sound as clear as it could be. Maybe as you were reading out loud, it started to feel broken and you were struggling really to read the next sentence. The flow wasn't there. These are good indications that maybe we need to get in and revise a sentence or two or more to make them as clear as they possibly can be. So once we feel like we've got our clarity down, we feel like our essay is as clear as it can be, then we can turn our attention to kind of smaller things to help our sentences be more effective and stronger. And so I have some pieces of advice here in this section, and I'm not going to go over these specifically, but they're just other interventions that you can do, some quick interventions just to improve your sentences. For example, taking a look at and trying to get rid of any repetition in your writing. Do you repeat yourself unnecessarily as you're going through? And this sometimes happens when we're writing our rough draft. We'll have ideas or sentences that are very similar to ones that earlier, and we just didn't realize we were repeating our ideas. We were trying to find something new to say, but we ended up saying kind of the same thing in a previous sentence. So here's a chance to find sentences or even parts of sentences that, again, aren't necessary because we've already said that somewhere else. And then other ideas that we can work on here in this section are just bringing some variety to our sentences, and then also some force to our ideas. So again, bringing our language to life a little bit more. In this section here, we turn our attention to diction, and diction just means the word choice. So the words we choose to use to express our ideas. And I've got a number of sections here in this portion of our local revision step to help you identify different words in your essay that we could revise or change or delete. That would just help and improve the essay, particularly when we think about the essay as a piece of formal academic writing. There are ways to make our words more effective, specifically for that audience, that formal academic audience. So one of the things that you can look out for as you're reading through your paper for diction, and again, we should be doing this step by step, right? We start with focusing on clarity, we focus on some aspects of our sentences, and then we specifically focus on these various aspects of our word choice. So the first thing that we can look for when we're looking to improve our words is anywhere we have vague words. So effective writing means being as precise and as specific as we can be. And so whenever we can go through our rough draft and find words that maybe aren't as specific as they could be, we should get in there and revise those and make them more precise and more specific. It just helps our reader better understand our ideas. And again, it makes the writing more effective. So look for words like bad and good and thing and stuff, and find better ways to express your ideas than these vague words, because they don't give us that much information, and usually we can do better. Something else that we can take a look for when we're looking to improve our words in our essays is to find any cliches that we're using. And like I say here, cliches are any phrases that are overused or expressions that we hear all the time in verbal language. And again, they're shortcuts, that we use them in verbal communication as shortcuts. But in informal academic writing, or really any writing, we have a chance to be a bit more careful with our words and our ideas. And typically when it comes to cliches, most of the time a reader won't really absorb what you're trying to say when they come across the cliche. Their brains just kind of glide over the cliche, and they don't really take in the idea that is at the heart of the cliche, what you're trying to express with that cliche. So in general, usually you're just better off to use more direct language than a cliche. So going through your essay, finding any phrases like above and beyond the call of duty, or busy as a bee, or time will tell, and asking yourself what you're really trying to say there, and just being a bit more direct in our language. Another kind of word we want to look out for when we're looking to again improve our paper at the word level is any kind of jargon that we're using. And again, jargon is just any specific or special words or expressions that we use for a particular discipline or a particular activity. So for example, if you're writing about a car and you're looking at the significance of a car, but you really want to get into the mechanisms of a car and how the engine works, and you want to use some language having to do with cars, just be sure that when you're using that kind of language, that very specific or special language having to do with cars, that you're explaining it to your audience, because we really are a general audience here in this course, and not all of us know perhaps the jargon that you're using for your particular topic. So again, in general, try to avoid jargon, but if you do want to bring in some of that special language, just be sure that you're explaining it to your reader. All right, so the next words that we want to watch out for as we are looking to revise at the word level is any kind of slang or informal language. Remember that we want to keep our language formal when we are expressing ourselves in academic writing. Again, we want it to be us, but we want it to be us in a formal setting. So a great way to again focus on the formality of your writing is to find any kind of slang or overly conversational language and revise it to a more appropriate language use. All right, so the next kind of words we want to watch out for are called contractions. And contractions are just, again, when we take two words and we push them into one word. And again, this is a shortcut that we use in verbal language. We use it all the time without really thinking. But in formal academic writing, we want to try to avoid contractions. So this is, again, a great way to make sure that your writing is as formal as it can be. Get in there, find your contractions, and bust them apart. So find the theirs and make it they are. Find the it's and bust those two words apart into it is. And you'll be shocked at how much your language sounds more formal once you have gotten rid of your contractions. Now the next two here, references to the reader and the writer. So really what we're talking about here is the use of the word you and the use of the word I. And so in general, in formal writing, we try to avoid the word you because again, it does sound a bit conversational to use the word you. And typically when we use the word you in writing, we don't really mean the you of the reader. We usually are referencing kind of a general person. And so if that's the case, if you find the word you in your writing, ask yourself, are you really addressing the reader? And if you are, you should probably actually avoid doing that, except for in the introduction and conclusion, where you can be a bit more conversational and you can be a bit more direct towards your reader. But in the support paragraphs and in your thesis, you really shouldn't have the word you there because the essay should be focused on the topic. And so anytime that you find the word you in your support paragraphs, again, think about who you're actually talking about. You're not really talking about the reader. It's probably someone in general or someone more specific. So if you can't find someone more specific, consider revising that you to one or people, depending on the sentence. And then the word I. So in general, again, the word I tends to not be found in informal writing, at least when we are expressing our ideas. And so we want to try to avoid the word I when we're expressing ideas like in our thesis or our topic sentences. So we want to avoid introductory phrases like I feel or I think or in my opinion or in this essay I'm going to be talking about this. So you should try to avoid unnecessary shifts from the topic to you as the writer or to your paper. You should not be referencing your paper. You don't want to reference the assignment, for example, as well. And again, you don't want to unnecessarily shift to the I when it's not needed. So any kind of idea sentence that has these kinds of phrases, like I think or in my opinion, we can just simply get rid of those and leave the rest of the sentence, and the sentence is actually improved, and doesn't really change. So getting rid of the I think in a sentence doesn't change that sentence from an opinion to a fact. It's still an opinion, and if you don't tell us that it's somebody else's opinion, we assume as the reader that it's your opinion. So again, find these kinds of uses of the word I and get rid of them. They're unnecessary, and again, like I said, they shift focus to you as the writer of the essay, but we want to keep that focus on the topic. Now that being said, there is definitely appropriate uses to the word I, which I point out here. The I of experience. So when you're bringing in a personal experience to support an idea, that's when it's okay to use the word I. So if you're talking about, let's say, I don't know, you're talking about some device that you use, maybe like earbuds in your paper, and you talking about walking across campus, and you see the number of people who have these earbuds in that case, you're giving us an experience, and it's definitely appropriate to use the word I. As I walk across campus, I would see, these number of people with their iPods or earbuds in. So that's an okay use. That's an appropriate use for the word I. So yes, you can use the word I, but it has to be, again, within a personal experience that you're using to support an idea, and avoid the I in your ideas. Now, the rest of this section focuses in on editing, and I'm not going to go into editing here too much, other than to say editing is important. You should be spending some time working on your grammar, focusing on your grammar. The RWC, the Reading and Writing Center, can help you with this task. We also have the Purdue OWL site that has all the grammar rules that we use in formal academic writing. And of course, there are plenty of programs like Grammarly that can help you out with this as well. However, again, as always, when you use those kind of programs like Grammarly, just make sure that you're focusing on just improving your grammar, having the program help you to point out your grammar errors, and you're not using the generative AI functions. All right, everybody, that's it for now. Good luck with your local revision.